In land doctrines, I noticed a little secret where you could actually abandon this doctrine, the cross-branch tactical experience, by pressing the abandon doctrine. It essentially allows my units to be far more powerful, since this doctrine is the one that removes a lot of attack power, some organization, and a fair bit of morale. It would have helped out a lot, especially at the start of this campaign when I actually did attack some Soviet divisions, and I could have probably pulled off some more encirclements and inflicted more casualties, but now it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, it will help in the long run when I essentially do turn my units to face the Soviet Union, but in invading the UK it won't really make that much of a difference, but in invading the USA it will help quite a bit, because USA has a sizable army, and by extension Air Force. As you can see, the units in Mets are always being bombed. I'm thinking of what to do about it. I essentially decided to build AA guns, as you saw in France, to the north of Paris, or next to Belgium, so that the planes could be shot down when they fly towards the unit that is being bombed. It will wear them down bit by bit, and should essentially render them useless, at least for a little bit. I'm also building naval bombers, and they seem to be finishing up their construction, which is quite important, meaning that I can start port striking and naval striking the sea. I am hoping to sink as much as I can of the Royal Navy before I attempt the Sea Lion, because the Royal Navy is very powerful, and if it intercepts any transport ships that I am going to use in this operation, they'll be in quite a bit of trouble and will definitely get sunk by the British. Here I'm trying to negotiate some sort of trade deal with the country that I'm not at war with. As you can see, it's proving to be quite fruitless because they don't really have that many resources themselves. Don't really like me that much. I only have a handful of countries that I can do such a thing with, like Turkey, Spain, Argentina, Finland and China, but their resources seem to be quite exhausted, like mine. And it's a very big nuisance that I can trade for materials or money. I did stockpile a lot of supplies and oil just for that cause, but it seems that it won't really be that necessary, at least for a little while. I have to wait for some time to let the AI stockpile some of their materials and money. As you can see here, I concluded a trade deal with Finland, and the anti-air guns that I built in northern France seem to be already doing their job in Amiens, Dieppe. The Mets are the other ones, the Herson, for example. So perhaps this won't destroy the air units that are flying above the province, but it will, at the very least, make it so that they will have to repair once in a while, rendering them useless, as I said before, I believe. So now I decide to create a few convoys and escort ships, because what let's face it, doing sea line without convoys or escorts is suicide, since the units will not be able to get supplied. And as we know, if units cannot get supplied, they will wither away slowly, especially their strength to be exact, and they will have negative modifiers of fighting. A few of my submarines were sunk here. I put the damaged fleet army, I suppose, back to port so that they would repair. Because, as I said before, I can't afford to lose these submarines. They do take quite a while to build. I mean, eventually I will build new submarine models to sink ships more effectively and be a bit more efficient in naval battles. But for now, I will have to make do with these ones. Not saying that they're bad, but they're going to be obsolete quite soon. Over here, I'm just waiting, playing the waiting game for until something interesting happens, like its technology gets researched or something built. I sent my interceptors up into the air so that they would combat the enemy planes, somewhat stalling them. I'm looking if I could have done the SATS conversion, but no. And it seems that the first forts on my Don River line have been built, which makes it even easier to hold the Soviets. Now, to researching artillery, I thought for some time on what to focus on next, but it is a bit early to research modern blitzkrieg, so I began looking through air doctrines and didn't find anything too important, and just decided to settle on a submarine technology, because why not? I'm using submarines quite extensively. Just clicking away the multiple airports that are spawning. I was a bit annoyed that the light bombers could reach the city of Leipzig, so I began building AA guns there as well. I mean, it's not going to hurt. And as you also can see, I ran out of resources completely. Well, rare materials at least. And my industry can't function at 100% strength anymore. Here I went after, I believe, multi-role 1943 fighters, because the ones that I have are quite outdated, and upgrading them would be pretty important. Now, as you may know, in the new version of Darkest Tower 1.0.5.1, units slowly upgrade themselves, which means that I don't have to use up my industry on upgrading units. It doesn't mean that the units, that the free upgrades are that quick. They take forever, but the awesome thing is that they're free. So if I research better bombers or units, they'll slowly start upgrading for free. And since they're just sitting idly there, not in battle, this is actually a pretty nice strategy, since they can't upgrade while in battle. Here I finally saw the naval bombers being built and placed them in an airport, uniting them into one air brigade of sorts. So now I'm going to start. Well, I essentially attempted to naval strike the ocean or any body of water where enemy ships could be. And I also set up naval interdiction here in the North Sea, in the Western North Sea to be precise. with the intention of sinking some ships, which doesn't go particularly well. I decided to rebase these naval bombers in Cherbourg and then start naval striking the Celtic Sea, which was not particularly nice or successful, since I didn't really find any serious enemy ships. The reason I tried to naval bomb there because the enemy planes seem to be traveling in just one line, and I tried to find an area that does not connect with that one line. So here I got the idea, I remembered, of trying to port strike since the planes are going all in one line. I placed the air division back to Cherbourg, and usually the artificial intelligence puts all of their ships into Manchester for no reason. So I decided to port strike Manchester first, and what do you know? 3 ships. Well, there were 3 ships. As you can see, I sunk carriers. And since they ran out of ships, I began playing cat and mouse of sorts with other ports. The reason as to why I set up the submarines next to those ports that I'm bombing is because they could intercept the navy if they were to remove the navy from the port. And that was a victory of sorts there, which is awesome. I tried to port bomb Plymouth and that one other place, Portsmouth. Now, usually they also have a large concentration of ships in Scapa Flow, which means that I should check there to see if the Brits have anything in there. And lucky for me, that is where most of the navy is, just 61 ships. I'm going to be bombing this province for quite a while if I want to destroy all of them. Here I am setting up the stats for my bombers, when they should stop doing their mission, or give 20 and strength is if below 50. I'm slowly doing a little bit of damage, not much because I only have 1 naval bomber squadron, but I'm doing some sort of damage, which is the most important part. Yeah, send my interceptors out again. I think the only possible way of me shooting down enemy planes so that they will be completely out of commission is if I were to intercept them twice, which is still not 100% confirmed, but it is much better than nothing. At least have to try it. Here I'm checking out what kind of problems, I suppose, my units have, and what are the modifiers when partaking in a specific mission. Here I try to see how badly these units are damaged, and they're doing okay. After a few more runs I decide to just rebase them and let them rest up, since it is much more important than losing them. Here I decide to surround the area where Scapa Flow is, so that if they were to actually remove the navy from the port, it would first have to go through my first submarine fleet, and then through another one that borrows it. And from what I experienced, I could not retreat when I was actually well I couldn't retreat a second time when I retreated once. So I'm hoping the same would work with the AI. Here I'm trying to decide what kind of technologies to research after researching 1944 interceptors, and if I get going after areas of doctrine would be great. 10% morale is actually pretty huge for both multi-role fighters and interceptors. Here I sunk a carrier from Scapa Flow. I'm looking at how well the anti-aircraft guns are being built, and not particularly well, I noticed, because the enemies are probably bombing them. So I'm going to partake in air superiority in northern France to let them be built first before they could be just bombed into the ground, like 0 out of 3 AA gun level, which is quite annoying, as you could imagine, since I've been building them and they just aren't doing their job. My marine divisions are slowly being finished up, which is great. I think I will have to let them upgrade for some time. And I will end up the part here.